All right, so today we're going to be putting the pistons and the heads on. I just got the heads back from the machine shop, got all new valves, springs, and so right here I'm actually checking to make sure that this big bore kit won't hit the case. If you watch my other videos, I had to grind the case just a little bit and it is good. So that's what you want. If you don't grind the case on the earlier years, this will grind just a little bit. This one I grounded enough, so we're good there. So I'll check make sure the rings are in the right order, and then we'll put all this together. So stay tuned. Now on the 40 horse, you will see an arrow on each of the pistons, and I actually have these all lined up. The arrow goes towards the flywheel. So I'll show you here. I got it all, try to get it all lined up here. So the arrow will go towards the flywheel, and then you have this flat spot for the others to make room for the other cylinder. You got to make sure those are in order because there is a slight angle on these connecting rods. And if you don't do that, it'll be cockeye, and that is not good. So arrow always goes to the flywheel, and I got that. So now that I got these kind of all in order, I like to do that first, make sure I don't get it all messed up. I will pound these pistons a little bit down so I can put the retainer clip in there on one side, because I won't be able to put in once I have the cylinder in. So I have to put one in on each side. I like to do the side that's towards the flywheel. And that way I can put the pin in and then put the other retaining clip, and then I can do this cylinder and piston and do the same thing. Just like that. And we'll make sure it's on this side. And I will put this clip in, make sure the rough side is out. So there's a rough side. There it is, just like that. Now you want to make sure that these spin, because if they pop out, it's not going to be a good day. Squeeze it in there. Make sure it's in. And just squeeze it a little bit and turn it like that. All right, we're in, and it's towards the up. And also, the manufacturer puts a red dot the way that the arrow's pointing. So just another reminder. So we're actually going to be starting with cylinder 3. I just turned the engine this way. It doesn't really matter, but we'll put a little bit of this sealant on. You just want a little bit. You don't need much. I see people where they put a whole bottle on this, and that's not fun. Definitely don't want too much because it'll get everywhere, and you only need a fraction of what most people put on. All right, cylinder 3 is ready to go. I got the retaining clip. Got the retaining clip in towards the flywheel. So I will slide this guy up. Slide it down just like that. And then from this side, I will put the wrist pin in. There we go. Takes a little bit to line it up. Got some patience. There we go. Just tap it in a little bit. Perfect. Not too snug there. Now, you do not want your retaining clip to fall in the case. That's probably one of my worst nightmares. So I try to prevent that and put some rags down, just like that. Got this. Stick it in like that. Okay. Make sure it's in. I've seen engines that'll fall out and just destroy the piston and the jug. So, all right, it is in. Just double check. Doesn't hurt to take an extra few seconds to triple check everything. Save you a lot of heartache. Slide that down. There we go. That is in. I like to kind of work it. And we'll go to this one here. Let's rotate it. Before I put the heads on, I like to put a little bit of oil in the cylinder just to keep it lubed while it's in storage. So, all right, let's move to this next one. The whole process is just a big repeat. Got this all cleaned up and ready, and I put the retaining clip in on the flywheel side, so because as you can see, you can't put it in while this cylinder's in. So got that one in. We'll put it on, slide the pin in, and put the retaining clip, and we'll be set. There we go. Rotate it. All right. Now's the time when you take a coffee break and you think about what's going on next. And all of a sudden you remember that you have to put those tins in before you put the heads and your push rod tubes on. I've done that, so don't forget that. I got them all cleaned up and ready to go. We'll put those in. Actually, I'm gonna do it right now. That's when you set down the coffee and put it on before you forget. Now this guy goes right here and right there, and it's in. You cannot put those on with the heads on because you're push rod tubes. My first engine, somebody forgot to do that, and so they bent these clips under and slid it in, so it wasn't really working, but don't forget that. Okay, so we got everything lined up. I just got to put these seals on here, and then I'll take my sealant, seal them up, and then I'll also seal the case part along with the head. So let's do that. You gotta be careful not to cut your fingers. I've done that. Okay, got those on. We'll just seal this up. That all ready to go. Same with over here. Now I should have mentioned that the cylinder heads are 45 cc, and so that is going to put this, I did all the measurements, and it's going to put the compression ratio around 7.68 to 1, and that's a total of 1,387.7 cc's. So the big bore kit bumps it up quite a bit from the original 40 horse or 1,200 cc. Almost 200 cc's, 187 to be exact, so that's pretty close. Now I've done quite a few of these engines, and I'm finding out that these tubes are pretty hard. I'm finding out if you put the push rod inside the tube, it actually kind of holds it together. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Make sure that tin's in. And I got all this together. All right, let's do it. So this is a seam right here. I like to put that up. Makes it uniform. Put that in there. Okay. Got those up. I got all the hardware ready. I'll do this. Oil, just squirt it in there. Just for the first break in. Now we're gonna grab all these. Make sure it goes on there straight. Put those in there. Just like so. You want to be careful. I'll show you over here. You want to be careful not to smash these corners. So you gotta be extra careful of that. And also making sure these are aligned. All right, we got it in place. I will just slowly start torquing these down and we'll go from there. Now I torqued everything down to 7 foot-pounds. That's your first torque down. You just wanna make sure that your push rod tubes don't bend. They didn't, so we're good there. Now I'm gonna set this to 23 foot-pounds. And we're gonna start with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So that's the torque pattern. And I'll get that done and then we'll move on from there. Now we're moving on to the rocker arms. And if you didn't know, on the 40 horses, they made a lot of changes to the heads. One big thing to point out is this is actually an older engine. So it's got the old bosses, is what they call them. The newer heads, they went to a square boss, and this stud actually went all the way through, where this one is an old one. And also, these are older. The newer ones had some markings right here, and they're actually 1 millimeter longer. So these are short, and because of that, it changes all of your valve clearances. So these are actually supposed to be around 12 thousandths compared to 4 or 6 thousandths. And also another thing is this has the B, so that shows it's older. The heads with the C at the end are the later year. So there's other changes. They changed like the size of the port a little bit, like 2 millimeters, something like that. But so this is an older head and it changes everything. So that's kind of a fun fact. Let's see, let's put these on. All right, got those on. I'll have to check the geometry on this, but for now we'll just tighten it up. Got your compressed ring there. They also changed they filed those down on the later heads. So the 40 horse was when they are really trying to fine tune the engine, and they kind of missed it. 36 was a great engine. The 40 horse was kind of loud, clunky, and not awesome. They'll last a long time, but they definitely weren't as good as the 1600. Now, because these are older heads, it shows here if you have an engine before the 9205 700, that's your engine number there, which this engine is. It's actually it's a 7. So it's an older engine. So the intake clearance is 8 thousandths and the exhaust is 12 thousandths. Pretty crazy, especially since the later VWs ran 6 thousandths. That's pretty typical. So if you have a 40 horse, you might want to check that and make sure that you have the old or the new heads, because that'll affect everything. And with the wider clearances, these engines, they tap a lot, but that's pretty typical. But how you know is there is either a B or a C at the end of your head number there, and if it's got round bosses or square bosses, which actually I'll show that. So these are actually 1600, which they kept that from the later 40 horse and on. So there's the comparisons right there. With that being said, I'll adjust the intake to 8 thousandths and the exhaust to 12 thousandths, and this side will be done. All right, there you have it. Cylinder 3 and 4 are done. This side took me a little bit over an hour to do. It's a little harder while filming, but hopefully this video helped you guys. I'm gonna go ahead and do this side, and we'll have a fully complete long block ready. And from there, we'll put all the tin on, all the oil cooler, all that fun stuff. So if you haven't, please subscribe. This engine here is going in this 1964, and that's actually the engine that came out of this car originally. So it's coming together real nice. All right, thanks for watching. Be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment. Appreciate it. Next engine up is a 1959 Porsche 356. So don't miss out on that. I'm really looking forward to it and looking forward to getting it going. So, alrighty, thanks for watching.